Long ago, in the ancient town of Ile-Ife, the people lived in fear. Every now and then, a strange group of people would attack the town. These enemies came like ghosts. They wore raffia from head to toe. You couldn't see their faces. You couldn't hear their voices. They moved quietly, like spirits from the forest. The people of Ile-Ife believed they were actual spirits around. They called them the Igbo Raiders. These raiders would enter the town, steal food, burn houses, and capture men, women, and children. Then they would disappear back into the forest. No one dared to chase them. Everyone was afraid. The king of Ife at the time was Moremi. He called meetings. He consulted warriors. He offered sacrifices. But nothing worked. The town remained in fear. In the midst of all this trouble lived a strong and beautiful woman named Moremi. She was not born into a royal family, but she was married to a powerful man called Moremi, the king himself in some stories. In other versions, she was married to a brave man from the town of Ife. But what made Moremi special was not her beauty or her position, it was her courage. Moremi was tired of watching her people suffer. She said to herself, "If nobody will do something, then I will." One night, when the raiders came again, Moremi did something brave. She allowed herself to be captured on purpose. She wanted to go with them and find out who they really were. Her plan was risky. She could be killed. She could be used as a slave. But she was ready. She was doing it for her people. The raiders took her deep into the forest. They did not know who she was. They just saw a beautiful woman. The leader of the raiders saw her and was pleased. He took her into his home and made her his wife. Moremi became close to him. She lived among the raiders, and slowly she began to learn their secrets. She found out that they were not spirits. They were ordinary people. They only looked like spirits because of the way they dressed in dry raffia and grass. She also learned how they planned their attacks. They used the rivers and small forest paths to move quickly. They knew Ile-Ife well. Moremi remembered everything. Moremi had now become part of the enemy's camp. Every day, she watched. Every night, she listened. She smiled and played her role as the leader's wife. But inside her heart, she was thinking only of Ile-Ife, her people. After many months, she had learned enough. She now knew their secret path, their hiding places, and how they tricked the people into thinking they were spirits. She had everything she needed. Now, it was time to escape. But it was not easy. The raiders trusted her. They watched her closely. If she tried to run, they might catch her and kill her. So Moremi waited for the perfect time. One night, the camp was busy celebrating a victory. The guards were drunk, the warriors were singing, and that was her chance. Moremi left in the middle of the night, quietly like a shadow. She followed a small river path she had memorized. She walked for hours through the thick forest. Her legs were shaking. Her heart was beating fast, but she didn't stop. She was determined. Finally, she reached Ile-Ife. When the people saw her, they were shocked. They thought she was dead, but she told them everything. She explained how the raiders were just ordinary people dressed in raffia. She described the hidden path they used and how they escaped after each attack. The king and the warriors were amazed. With this new information, they made a plan. The next time the raiders came, the people of Ife were ready. This time, they were not afraid. They had fire waiting. The moment the raiders entered the town, the warriors used fire to burn their raffia outfits. The raiders ran in panic. Some were caught, others escaped, but they never came back again. The people of Ife danced and sang. They praised Morimi. She had risked her life. She had given them peace. But there was one thing left. Before Morimi left the forest, she had made a promise to the river goddess Esimiri. She had said, "If you help me return safely, I will sacrifice the most precious thing I have." Now, Esimiri had come to collect. Morimi tried to delay. She gave money. She gave gifts, but nothing worked. The goddess wanted what Morimi had promised. Morimi cried, because the most precious thing she had was her only son. Morimi sat by the river, holding her son close. His name was Oluorogbo. He was just a boy, full of life and joy. He would run around the palace, play with the guards, and make his mother laugh. He was her only child, her world. But Morimi had made a promise, a serious one. The goddess Esimiri wanted her sacrifice. Not money, not clothes, not land. She wanted Oluorogbo. The people of Ife begged the goddess. They said, "Please, choose something else. Morimi has done enough for us." But the goddess did not change her mind. Morimi was torn apart. How could she give up her son, her own son? But how could she break her vow? One morning, after crying all night, Morimi stood up. She dressed her son in white. She held his hand and walked to the river. The town followed her. Some were crying, some were silent. When they searched the river, she looked at her son and whispered, "Forgive me." Then she gave him the goddess. It was the most painful moment of her life. The river was still. The wind stopped blowing. The crowd was quiet. From that day on, Morimi was never the same again. She walked with strength, but her eyes always cried sadness. She had saved a whole town, but lost her own child. The people of Ile-Ife mourned with her. They built a statue in her honor. They called her Moremi Ajasoro, the brave woman who gave everything for her people. Years passed, but her story never faded. Even till today, in Ile-Ife, her name lives on. There is a tall statue of her holding a torch, standing proudly as a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and love. But what many people don't know is, that was not the end of the story. Something strange began to happen after her son disappeared. After Morimi gave up her son, Oluorogbo, things changed. At first, everything was quiet. The people of Ile-Ife tried to move on. The raids had stopped. There was peace, but for Morimi, there was no peace in her heart. She would sit by the river every evening, looking into the water, hoping to see a sign of her son. She stopped wearing fine clothes. She no longer danced in the palace. Even her laughter disappeared. Then one night, something unusual happened. Morimi was asleep when she heard a voice in her dream. The voice was soft, like a whisper from the wind. It said, "Mother, do not cry. I am not gone. I am with the gods now." She woke up with tears in her eyes. That voice, it was Urugbo. From that night, Morimi started seeing signs. Sometimes she would find white feathers by her door. Other times, a small breeze would touch her cheek in the middle of a hot afternoon. She knew it was him. The gods had not taken her son in anger. They had lifted him up. And soon, the people of Ile-Ife began to talk. They said Olurogbo had become something greater, a spirit child sent to earth to fulfill a purpose and return home. Some even believed he was now one of the Orisha, watching over the land. Children in Ile-Ife started to sing songs about him. Olurogbo, the child of light, given to save us, taken to shine. But still, Morimi missed him. No statue, no praise, no songs could fill the hole in her heart. One day, the king and elders of Ile-Ife called her to the palace. They said, "We cannot thank you enough. You have given us freedom. We want your name to live forever. We want every child in Ife to know your story." And so they began a tradition, the Edi Festival. Every year, the people of Ile-Ife would gather to remember what Morimi did. They would dress in raffia, just like the raiders, and act out the day they were defeated. It was not to scare people, but to remind them that fear can be conquered by truth and courage. They would dance, they would sing, and they would call Morimi's name. But one year, during the festival, something happened that no one expected. It was the day of the Edi Festival. The town of Ile-Ife was full of music, laughter, and energy. Children wore raffia like the ancient raiders. Drummers beat their drums loudly. Elders told stories about Morimi's courage, and everyone gave thanks for the peace she brought. Morimi sat quietly in her corner, watching the celebration. She didn't smile much, but her heart was full. The people were happy. That was all she had ever wanted. Suddenly, a child ran to her. "Mommy Morimi! Mommy Morimi!" The boy shouted. "There's a boy at the gate asking for you. He said he knows you." Morimi frowned. "A boy?" She stood up slowly and walked to the gate with some elders. There, standing outside the gate of Ile-Ife, was a boy dressed in simple white clothes. His eyes were bright, and he had a calm look on his face. The moment Morimi saw him, her knees became weak. He looked exactly like Oluorobo. "But that is impossible." The boy smiled at her and said, "Mother, I came to see you." Morimi fell to the ground and cried. The boy knelt beside her. "Don't cry, Mama. I am not here to stay. The gods sent me just for today. They allowed me to come because your heart has been too heavy. They want you to know that I am safe. I am happy." The elders watched in silence. Some wept, others bowed their heads. Morimi held his hands. "Please stay," she begged. The boy shook his head gently. "I cannot. My place is not here anymore. But I want you to live. I want you to laugh again. Your story is not finished." And just like that, he stood up, walked backward to the forest and disappeared. No one ever saw him again. From that day, something changed in Morimi. She started to walk around the town again. She began to visit the markets. She would talk to young girls, telling them stories of bravery, honesty, and sacrifice. She would say, "Being strong doesn't mean you don't cry. It means you do what is right, even when it breaks your heart." Moremi lived for many more years. She became a legend, not just because of what she did, but because of what she gave up. Years passed, generations changed, new kings came and went, but one name never faded from the lips of the people of Ile-Ife: Moremi Ajasoro. Her story was passed from grandmother to granddaughter, from father to son. Her name was written into songs, prayers, and stories. People didn't just remember her for what she did. They respected her for what she gave up. As time moved on, Moremi became more than just a woman. She became a symbol. She stood for bravery because she faced what others feared. She stood for sacrifice because she gave up what no one else could. And she stood for wisdom because she used her mind, not just her strength, to solve a problem. In Ile-Ife, her story became a part of the town's identity. During every Edi festival, her name is still shouted loud and proud. People wear white to honor her. Some even say special prayers near the Esimiri River, where she made her vow. And in the heart of the ancient city, something special was built. A giant statue of Morimi. It is taller than most trees. She stands with a long staff in one hand and flame in the other. The flame of truth and courage. People come from far places, even from outside Nigeria, just to see it. They take pictures, but they also ask questions. Who was this woman? And the people answer, she was our mother. She was our light in the dark. In modern times, Morimi's story continues to inspire. The young girls hear her name and learn that beauty is not just in the face, but in the heart and in the actions. Young boys learn that strength is not only in the fist and fighting, but in sacrifice, in promises kept, and in standing up for others. Her name is written in books, taught in schools, and remembered in plays and festivals. Some Yoruba families even name their daughters Moremi, praying that their child will grow up to be bold, wise, and selfless like her. But even with all the honors, there is one thing that stays true. Morimi did not do it for fame. She didn't do it for the statues. She didn't do it to be worshipped. She did it because her people needed her. Morimi's story is not just a tale of the past. It is a mirror, a way for us to look at ourselves and ask, what would I do if my people were in danger? What am I willing to sacrifice for the good of others? What promise have I made, and am I ready to keep? Today, many people chase fame, money, and comfort, but Moremi chased freedom, not just for herself, but for everyone in her land. She had no army, she had no weapon, What she had was courage, intelligence, and a heart full of love for her people. She reminds us that being strong doesn't always mean lifting heavy things or fighting in battles. Sometimes, true strength is being brave in silence, standing alone, or making painful choices for the greater good. Morimi was not perfect. She cried, she doubted, she lost, but she never gave up. And in the end, even though she gave up her only child, she gained something that no one could ever take from her: a place in the hearts of her people forever. So the next time you visit Ile-Ife, stand before her statue and remember, this was a woman who stood tall when others were afraid. This was a woman who gave everything and asked for nothing. This was Moremi Ajasoro. Let this story remind us that one person, yes, just one, can make a difference. Even if you are not a king, even if you have no title, even if you feel alone, you can still be someone's Moremi. Please like, comment, share this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more educative and inspiring stories and myths. Until next time, this is Folktales by Fayoke, where history comes alive.